let's go far back to 2016. What was the promise? They removed dictatorship and self-perpetuating rule, and now give Gambia a fresh start, new transition, change the status. What happened? We're seeing a new face playing the same old game. Is MUP not going to play the same gallery when they come to power?
Absolutely not. That is why we are advocating for system change on the rule of law.
Alright. Get us understand.
People need to understand that we are all under the law. Let the law take precedence. Okay, first of all, let me thank the presidency for initiating the Anti-Corruption Commission, which I understand is at the desk of the National Assembly. People have been nominated for approval.
Wait.
Let me break this for people to understand. I know you know better than I am. So I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people. The law is supposed to be in a way that, let's say, the Anti-Corruption Commission should be given some legitimate powers that they can summon even the president to answer to questions if he is found wanted. The law should be up there. You need to understand that you have to serve the people. So there is something somewhere or someone somewhere that is supposed to hold you accountable. People should understand accountability must take precedence. That is one. Secondly, the system should be in such, in a way that should be designed in a way that the rights of the people are respected, that the will and aspiration of the people is respected, and that development, when I talk about I'm talking about actual development, is given back to the people. That is the system we need. I want to wake up every morning free, like a free man. I want to wake up every morning and get access to basic needs. I don't want to close from work at 12 a.m. midnight and somebody stab me in the streets just to collect the little that I have. I want to live in a drug-free state. Because ordinarily, a normal government would not just look at somebody and kill him. No, we don't have that attitude. But most of these people doing these heinous crimes are under the influence of heavy drugs. How do we ensure that we have a system that discourages or that wages war against drugs, against corruption? That is the kind of system that the NUP wants to bring.
Okay, we're talking about waging war against drug. How are we going to do that? Because let's say young people, number one, who are being, for me, I don't look at them as culprit further. I'm looking at them as victims.
Yes, they're definitely victims.
Because they get into drugs. Why? They don't satisfy their own psychological.
Like, let me help you. I want to start where you're driving. I'm sorry to cut you short. It is like the same system, the same people in power. They're the same people that are dealing in drugs. Let me tell you one thing. When you look at Dilek, most of the arrests that they make, they're not heavy, like major arrests, as in the cartel of the movement, or the cartel of the drug cartel, like the head of the drug cartel, the Don, they will call it. Usually is this kids with one box, they're in a park, and all that. I'm not saying all the time, they're doing their job, but we think our belief is not enough. Now, if you truly want to wage war against drugs, do they watch us like as a man? See as a man, see like tau? No. It enters through our borders, our ports, either the airport or the seaport, or they might enter through our other borders. We need to make sure our borders are protected. First of all, now I am a drug law enforcement agent. My survival depends on the cases that I close as a person. It will compel me to serve. Now it takes us back to my initial argument that they have to be paid sufficiently to take care of their families.
Officers.
The drug law, because they're of course they're the front runners. Yes, they should be paid enough
so that nobody will be able to bribe them.
Because if you look at some of these countries that are fighting against drugs, like drug law enforcement agents will be given a specific budget to use it as tip-offs. For example, if I'm given a tip like I'll have my agents all over. If I'm giving a tip that Serif is selling drugs, where I have found 1 or 2 bucks, I will use you as a witness on the witness protection list.
But I will not use you as a...
No. He's not
the target.
He's not the target.
Okay.
Serif as a person is just a victim of the system.
Yeah.
Serif bought this from somewhere.
But usually they don't trust.
Exactly. They're only interested in where we made 6, 7, 20, 100 arrests. It's not important. Like this kid that is selling, few kilos of yamba, few kilos of cannabis, or skunk or whatever, will tell you where he got it from.
That was why he got it from.
Of course. If you interrogate them very well, and then make them understand in the end that you are a witness here. But if you want to stand in court with them, be my guest. That person will tell you, okay, I got it from Mr. X.
So you are saying we should go to the root?
We should follow the trail to get to the root cause of the problem. That is the only way you kill the problem. You get to the root cause of the genesis of the problem.
But how about if those people who are at the root of drug are powerful?
That is why I said, that is why I said, the Anti-Corruption Commission should be such that even the president is under the rule of law. If I'm the president today and I'm dealing with drugs, I'm the biggest drug cartel in the world. If I'm a person of interest, the Anti-Corruption Commission should be able to have the powers to summon me to answer questions. But I can tell you this, most of the drug dealers in this country are the people with authority. And you'll be surprised when the NUP government comes to play, NUP government comes to power. We'll go all out with this. We'll make sure we fight against every single promise that we make to the government people. You'll be amazed with the amount of people that will be named. If the genesis wasn't that powerful, the idea of fighting against corruption started since from President Jammeh's time. It would have been history. Yes, Jammeh's time they were drug dealers, but it wasn't like it is now. You remember the arrest that they made in Bondo? It was one of the biggest arrests in the history of this country. If they were not following, the trail to get to the genesis, they would have made that significant arrest. That is exactly what we need as a country. A very serious government that would wage war against the very issues that are victimizing our people.
Now, don't you think this anti-corruption, whatever, is a duplication of function of the audit office?
Well, it's kind of different. Now, the audit office is more or less like exposing the corruption. They don't have the powers to prosecute. It's the police that have those powers. Now, I don't know 100% the mandate of the audit office. But I want to believe that even the police, as it stands, they are serving under the banner of the presidency. That is why he's the commander-in-chief.
To the Inspector General?
Yes.
Then you have the Interior Minister?
Who appoints the Inspector General? Who appoints the Inspector General of Police? It's the president. So all the sister forces are under the banner of the presidency. That is why, who is, let me use this example. Who is policing the police? That is what we need.
If somebody policing the police.
Exactly.
Make sure the police does work.
Exactly.
And that body should be independent.
Exactly.
Alright.
That is why I said, the Anti-Corruption Commission should be such that they would have the powers to summon even the president to answer questions. Alright. Nobody should be spared. That's why we say governance under rule of law.
Alright. So, that is clear. And now we have seen so many of the young people who have been there 2026, I don't know, 2016 I want to say. But this 2026 is filling people's head, for the change the country needs. But we have seen some young people who are there advocating against the system. Today you find them there. In fact, they are the champion of, they are the commandos in defending the very things they were doing against. Well, why you will not be
at this point, I would
falling a victim of that?
No, at this point, I would borrow S.R. Fal's statement, Honorable S.R. by Fal. He said they are victims of the system.
That's what I'm saying. I hope you will not be a victim.
No, for me, let's put it this way. I don't know their upbringing. For me, I am mentally prepared for what lies ahead. Now, let me take you a little
10 million, let me take you 100 million, and then they say, well, get this out from your...
Well, let me take you back to how the NUP is instituted. I told you to ask me a question, but you didn't. Now, NUP is such that part of our governing principle is the moment you see is elected as the leader, you are under no obligation to appoint someone from the party. Now, when I say under no obligation, it's not a force on you. To say that, okay, X, Y, and Z are part of the struggle, so they have to serve in government by and force. No. When you become the president, you are the president of the NUP, you are the president of the Republic of the Gambia. You as a person, by the constitution, is given all the powers to appoint a cabinet that is well structured and responsive enough to the needs and aspirations of the people. And that is inclusive of members of the NUP. If you don't understand, let me rephrase.
Okay.
Not necessarily because I'm part of it, so I need to be there. No, you will serve because you are able, educated enough. You have that sense of integrity to serve in that cabinet. So, whether you are with the NUP or not, if our government comes to play, if the president feels that Sirif Jaha is good enough to serve as Minister of Education, you will be appointed. Now, the NUP will serve as the first watchdog to your government to help you govern. This resonates with my upbringing as a president. I'm not saying that I cannot be bought. I'm sitting on TV. But by Allah, I pray that if I'm getting to this journey to be bought, let me never see that light of day. I don't want to get that part. My mission and my focus is clear.
Imagine what 100 million is here.
What is 100 million after all? These are luxuries of dunya. I'm someone that believes in Allah Azza wa Jal. I know someday I am going to die and I'll be held accountable for in the court of Allah. What is dunya?
So they are quoting Quran and all that.
Well, it's their business. I know I am brought in such a way that I understand that I'm a Muslim, and when I die, I will be held accountable for every single thing that I've done in the court of Allah.
So you can say, you can receive a letter from the president saying Abubacarr, Jarju appointed as the Minister of Sports.
Under this current system, I cannot serve in that system. In fact, personally, I don't have the qualification to serve as Minister of Sport. So I'll respectfully decline. And of course, part of
you don't want to do anything.
I don't want to have anything to do with the current system. My responsibility is to fight against the system, not for the system to do me favors. I'm not doing it for fame.
Okay.
I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not doing it to be employed. If that is the case, I have so many issues of mind going on that I could focus on.
Your vision, please.
My vision is clear, my brother. Let's change the system. Let's fight against the system. Let's make sure we bring in someone that understands the cries of the people. Someone that is not interested in being in power, but rather in service to the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people. That is what we need. This will bring us to a project that we need to have, especially the opposition. Irrespective of who is going to lead the project, let's have a project in place. Now, I'll dive a little bit because everybody is referencing Pastef in Senegal as it's supposed to be a sort of inspiration for all of us. How Pastef movement started. Pastef actually started as a movement. It was an anti-corruption movement, you know. Okay? That added their voices on the voice of reason to kind of like educate the masses as to how much the government is holding them hostage. They transformed into a political party with the same vision, campaign with the same vision, went through a lot of trials and tribulations with the same vision, and then got to power with the same project and implementing the same project. This is exactly what every revolution requires. Your project should be based on the realities of your country. Now, in our country, we have a government that is interested in remaining in power forever. Like Esafal said, I don't know whether it's true or not, but he said it on TV. Now, I'm inclined to agree with Esafal. He said, President Barrow wants to him. Once you make a 15 years. There's a guy that was coming and told us that he will serve for 3 years. He's serving for 10, almost 10 years. And then when he was asked, he was like, I'm also a campaign of my head. That is somebody that lacks integrity. We have a president that will just sit on national TV and say whatever he wants. That is why I'm inclined to agree with SFR, Honorable SFR, when he said, he met the president was like, once we get 15 years, I can be here 15 years. This is just to tell you the mindset of the people in power. Like they are more interested in remaining in power than doing the actual job. And this is exactly where our fight should be focused on. Putting a system that is responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people, a system that every leader or every president would live honorably without thinking about the consequences. Because we see President Barrow opting for more than he actually campaigned for. It is because he left a mess that he wants to clean. And the more he stays in power, the more messy it becomes. So in fact, in the end, we'll be doing him a favor. Because if you have to leave him to remain in power, he's going to cause more harm.
So what is your message to the Gambian people and of course to the young people?
My message is simple, Brother Serif. Let us come together. Unity is indeed strength.
Strength to remove Barrow or what?
Barrow is not the priority. He is only an obstacle.
But the talk is always bad.
Yes, like people need to understand this. The fight is not against President Barrow. We have nothing personal against him. It is the system.
It's like we are not fighting Barrow. The fight is not against him.
The fight is against the very system that is compelling him to seek for more power.
Okay. For their interest.
For their interest, of course. In the end, that's it. That is what they're interested in.
Yeah.
We need to institute a system that is very responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people. How do we do that? It's by coming together. Currently, last week we saw Standard published an article. It was a press release from the Apex Initiative that is actually launching a coalition bid that brought in a lot of coalition candidates contesting for the next presidential election. I think it's a platform that young people need to, redirect their energy to. It is a platform that is meant to change the actual system and replace it with something that we can be proud of as Gambians. We need to come together. I understand advocacy is very important. I'm not saying that it's not important. It is very, very important. But advocacy is not enough. Someone has to take the fight to the enemy, and the future starts today. We cannot continue to live in those elders that are fighting, that are up there in the political space, doing the talking, everything. We should be the ones doing that. Those elders are doing it for us. We are supposed to do it for the future, for the generation yet unborn. So if we fail as a people, what are we going to explain to the young ones?
I asked this question to Dennis Jiba, that, wait, I'm a politician and I want to vote. I come to you, you are poor, you need, you don't even have a bag of rice to eat for the remaining months. I offer you 3 bags of rice. And then election is here, you see my picture, who are you going to vote for?
Ordinarily, yes. It has to do with the mindset.
Yeah, people are hungry, I feed you. So
yeah, you didn't feed me. You actually trying to buy my vote. That is what the presidency has been accused of doing. They will come with a bag of money, allegedly, to kind of like entice you, to kind of compel you into voting for them. But what you need to understand, getting into that polling compartment, the decision that you make determines your 5 years of existence as a person. We got to understand whether those 3 bags of rice is enough to sustain you for 5 years. You got to understand whether the current system is enough to sustain you and the future and the generation yet unborn for the next 5 years. You got to understand that you have a responsibility, and when you die, you will be held accounted for in the court of Allah. Whatever decision that you make, think twice, because nobody in this country today is ignorant of the status quo. We all knew what is happening. We all understand that the presidency needs to go. President Barrow and his team need to go. And the only way we can do it is coming together under a unified banner to fight. Now, when we talk about fighting, it's not to pick arms, it's not to throw stones. But what we do, we use our intellectual capacity. We use our voices. We use our platform to advocate for change. Meaningful change, that is, sustainable enough to change the narrative, to change the entire political dynamics of our history.
Yeah, so the young people, what do you have for them?
It's simple. Let's come together. I understand there are young folks that are prioritizing being in the informal sector, that prioritizes being in the, in the non-government, in the NGOs. Because people are young me. Like I said earlier, I understand what it means to run away from politics because of a meet.
Yeah.
But in the end, who are you leaving the fight for? The elderly. How strong are they to actually take the fight to the enemy? The revolution requires strength. And in every revolution that you see in this world, people must be hungry. People must be angry. At this point in time, the Gambian is hungry. The Gambian people are angry. And this is what ignites a revolution.
So that means now we have to take that hunger and anger.
Exactly. And put it to perspective.
Political change.
Of course, we drive that change that we need.
System change.
The system that we need to make sure that in the end, we can be proud of the Gambia that we built together.
But there are some people I interacted with because they're working with some organizations, either they are government or NGO. They fear that if they happen to be politically open or express their view politically or to be critical with the government, they lose their job.
That is how the system is designed. Now let's take Kemeson, for example, Keksai. He had a contract with Alport Banjul. When he joined this Gala movement, they advocated for change. The Alport threatened to terminate his contract. And then eventually they did, because he spoke. He exercised his civic duties as a Gambian. But are we supposed to succumb to that system? Absolutely no.
How long that tries to keep us silent?
Yeah, how long can we continue to live in silence? How long can we continue to live at the mercy of the presidency? They need to understand that we put them in power for a purpose, that they are supposed to be servants of the people. We are not supposed to fear them. They are supposed to fear us. Because in the end, the president will come back to us seeking for our mandate. We need to educate our people. We need to use our platform, our intellectual pedigree. We need to use every means at our disposal to educate the masses on what really matters.
You want to say, like, young people need to love this country beyond.
That is where nationalism and patriotism comes to play. I rather die than succumb to the will of the imperialists. I cannot continue to live in fear. That is why I took on this conviction. I had this conviction. I took on this responsibility to join politics because I want my voice to be heard. I want to be part of that change. I want to be part of the decision making. Because you cannot tell me what is paining me. You cannot tell me the problems that are affecting me more than I can. I'm a youth like all of you. It is time for our pain to be heard. Not only to be heard, but to be felt. We've got to take on the system, whatever it takes. And now is our opportunity. 2026 is our opportunity to inspire that change. If not, we will crumble to rubble. And I believe that's the last thing that we need as a nation.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jan.
That was Saidina Abubacarr Jarju, the spokesperson of NUP, that is the National Unity Party. You have heard him from his history, from his upbringing, his education now in politics. This is breaking the chains. This is what we do. We're going to meet any person that we can meet to discuss the system and see how best we can break the system, break the chains, and change the system. I think that's the only way forward. Until we come next, bye.